The results are in. The big winners and losers for the automobile manufacturers are in for the entire year of 2023. Toyota holds on as the largest manufacturer in the world, but they are still not number one in the United States. We're going to talk about all the Japanese and Korean automakers and how they're doing in relation to the domestic as well as some of the other luxury brands. Let's buckle in and get into it. At Automotive News, they've summed it up. GM ekes out Q4 gains. Stellantis slips. Speaking of Stellantis, I have an Italian-built Dodge Hornet in my driveway. It's a plug-in hybrid. I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit, so stay tuned for my review on that. Toyota Honda capped 2023 with double-digit rise in December sales, and the Korean automakers are crushing it as well from Hyundai and Kia, and the luxury brand Genesis too. If you guys are excited for this long video where we're going to recap so many sales, ups and downs, which models are doing well, make sure you smash that like button and make sure you subscribe, because I do this periodically. I would say almost quarterly, because that's when most manufacturers release sales numbers, is quarterly. So maybe I'll see you guys in April when we talk about first quarter of 2024. Now, the first sentence here is General Motors eked out a small fourth quarter win on the back of Buick. Now, I made my first ever Buick video on the channel about a week ago, because half of Buick dealers are gone as of 2024 because they don't think EVs work for their dealerships. So they've essentially closed shop. How long, is that going to be a big dent in Buick in the future? Time will tell, but I don't know if General Motors can ride on the back of Buick for much longer. And in 2023, we had the best full year sales since 2019 before the pandemic. So it's still not recovered where we want it to be, where we can get deals on cars. You can actually negotiate a little bit. You can get cars under sticker price, all that. We're still not quite there, but 2024, I think, is a turning point, and we'll talk about that as we go forward here. Now, for General Motors, Buick soared 57% in the last quarter, helping General Motors stay afloat 0.2% for the quarter. But for the entire year, General Motors, why am I talking about them? They're the number one retailer here in North America, or at least in the United States anyways, for all the automakers. So I'm going to start with them. General Motors deliveries rose 14% to 2.577 million and is still on top. Now, Toyota in second place, their December volume rose 26% to 226,000 vehicles. That's an 18% gain for Toyota and an 88% gain for Lexus. Lexus is on a tear right now. It's probably because they finally have availability in some meaningful volume for their hybrid crossovers. That would be my guess. That marks 8 consecutive monthly increases for Toyota and 11 consecutive gains month over month for Lexus as well. We're not going to go too much over models right now, because we'll go into the individual sales sheets for each company that I typically cover here on the channel. So we're going to get into that a little bit. Let's start with BMW in alphabetical order, right? BMW Motor Group, including Mini, of course. BMW up 6% on the quarter, 9% on the year. Mini up 4% on the quarter, 13.5% on the year. Rolls-Royce down 20% on the quarter, but still up about 4% on the year. Very low volume, right? Because they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. BMW as a whole, roughly up 9% as a year. All right, Buick, we talked about them saving General Motors, because look at what's happening. Buick has some really affordable entry-level models right now, and that's really helping them. And so we have a huge increase of 56% for the quarter and up 61% for the year. That's awesome to see. All right, Cadillac down 7%. I just reviewed an Escalade. It was fantastic. Chevy down about 0.5% and GMC down 6.5%. That's all quarter. If we look at the year, it's up. General Motors is up as a whole 14%. But the quarter is not looking good going to Q1 2024 for General Motors, unless Buick can keep carrying the company on its back. Acura up 27%. So Honda and Acura had a really rough 2022. They were down 50% that year. In 2023, look at the gains that they're seeing, over 30% as a total. That's awesome. All right, Genesis, kicking butt and taking names. I think it's like 6 straight years of gains for Genesis, something like that. But 19% up on the quarter, 22% up on the year. Let's look at the total volume, 69,000 units. If we look at Infiniti, it happened again. Genesis has beaten Infiniti once again, and rightfully so. If Genesis had Infiniti's dealership network, they would be, I'm not going to say unstoppable, but they would be a force in the luxury segment. Acura has their own dealer network as well, and they are selling about 145,000 units per year. Genesis, a little over half of that now at 70, or about half of that at 70,000 units. So Infiniti, we'll talk about them later in the video, but there you go. Genesis climbing the luxury ranks. Hyundai, the brand itself, not the entire group, up 10%. Hyundai Motor America, that includes Genesis and Hyundai, is up 11.5% on the year. Things are slowing down for them because they had a really strong last quarter of 2022. The last Korean automaker, Kia, has also set an annual sales record here in the United States, up 12.5%. Things are slowing down for them. It'll be interesting to see what kind of momentum they will have going into 2024, but I think they'll be just fine. Hyundai and Kia as a whole, up 4% on the quarter, up 12% on the year. Mazda, the little Japanese manufacturer that could, selling 90,000 in the fourth quarter, up 14%, and then they're up 23% on the year. Now look at this sales volume. They eventually want to get to, I think it's 500,000 units in the next couple of years. So they really want to crank out that volume. And it'll be interesting. We have the CX-70 being revealed at the end of January. So I'm always interested in seeing Mazda sales numbers. It's a lot of fun for that small Japanese manufacturer. Mitsubishi, speaking of small, they get smaller and smaller. They're down 5% on the quarter, up 1.8 on the year. We'll talk about Mitsubishi's models here in a little bit. Infiniti, up 16%, up 40% on the year roughly. Still not enough to beat the up-and-coming Genesis luxury brand from Hyundai. Nissan, up 4.8% and 5% as a whole, including Infiniti for the quarter. But if we look at the year, including Mitsubishi, the whole group is up 21%, despite Mitsubishi kind of holding them back at just up 2%. Stellantis, I'm not going to go into all of them. There are just so many individual brands. Overall, Stellantis is floundering a bit. Minus 1% on the year, minus 1% on the month. The Ram trucks are doing well. Maserati's doing well. Jeep's doing well. Fiat is essentially non-existent, but the Dodge, Chrysler brands are doing really, really poorly here. Looking at Toyota and Lexus, up 60% for the quarter for Lexus, up 24% for the year. Lexus is back. They sold 320,000 units. I don't think I mentioned Mercedes-Benz. They must not be reporting at the time of this recording, but 320,000, that's about 42,000 behind BMW. So Lexus is still not to be in number one. They're going to be top three. I'm not counting Tesla. Tesla is their own segment, own category. They have some luxury cars and they have mass market cars. But anyways, Lexus probably taking the number 2 spot over Mercedes-Benz would be my guess. I'm going to see if in this article they mention Mercedes. It'll be later in the month, so we won't have that, but I'm going to say Lexus is probably nailed down their second place finish or podium finish for luxury automakers. Without further ado, let's get into Toyota. Feel free to pause here, or if you need a potty break, some of you just take the phone with you, probably me included. Toyota Motor North America reports 2023 U.S. sales. I'm not going to get into all this because that'll put you to sleep if I haven't already, but best all-time year for GR Corolla. It's the best year. Well, it's the first year it was on sale, essentially, first full year. Corolla Hybrid, Corolla Cross, the Mirai, the BZ4X, the RAV4 Hybrid, the Sequoia, and Tundra Hybrid. Over at Lexus, let's see, their electrified vehicles now represent about 29% of their total sales volume. All-time best year ever for electrified vehicle sales. We knew that. LUVs? What is an LUV? Luxury utility vehicle. That would be my guess. luxury utility vehicle, so their crossovers are doing well. IS 500 had the best year ever. NX hybrids and plug-in hybrids, total NX and RX hybrid had the best year ever. We just now have 3 different variants of RX hybrid, so of course it's going to do the best. But they probably also lump together RX 350H and 500Hs here because obviously they differentiate the plug-in hybrid for the NX. Anyways, gosh, here's the sheet. Let's get into the nerdy stuff. Let's break down individual model here. Toyota Corolla up 30% on the month, up 5% on the year. And like Toyota just mentioned, the Corolla Hybrid just had its best year ever in 2023. So selling about 23,000 for the quarter and 232,000 for the year for the Corolla. Supra is down. I don't know what's going on with the Supra situation. The volume is half. So there must be either a production issues going on in Austria for it, or demand has really dropped off since it's getting, I wouldn't say long in the tooth. They have the manual that came out last year, but it is certainly due for maybe a refresh or a redesign. GR86 down just a little bit, 7% on the year. Mirai, who cares? Crown, interesting. Crown has sold 19,000 units so far. Well, should I say in the entirety of 2023? I wish I had the old Avalon as a comparison. Here we go. Looking up Avalon, 2022 is 12,000 and 2021 it was 18,000. So yeah, Crown is right there with the old Avalon in terms of sales, and that's kind of what it's replacing. The Toyota Prius, this is not good enough. The demand for the Prius is enormous. It's up 3% on the year. It needs to be up like 200%. I honestly think they could easily sell 100,000 Priuses or Prii if they were available. This is ridiculous, but they only make it in one factory now. They used to have 2 factories where they built it in Japan. And these models have to go all the way around the world. It's a global model. So interesting. The Prius, it kind of ticks me off. I gave up trying to get one, if you didn't know. I'm not going to get a new Prius. My 2012 drives brand new. It's only got like 60,000 miles on it. And what's the point of dropping 40K on a new Prius? That's just kind of where I'm at. And getting the Prius plug-in hybrid is very difficult. So at least where I live, and it's very expensive too. Anyways, there's my Prius rant, and Toyota not good enough in producing the Prius. Camry, 290,000 units as we get ready for the all hybrid next generation. What are we, 9th generation now? Coming early next year. Can't wait to drive it and see what kind of fuel economy, see what the 5th generation hybrid system is like with the 2.5 liter. So yeah, Camry's just being steady, just barely down on the year. All right, we'll skip the Lexus sedans for now, and let's get into the Toyota SUVs and crossovers. CHR, rest in peace. Other parts of the world get the 2nd gen CHR. BZ4X, 9,000 units they sold in 2023. And I read something that Toyota actually outsold General Motors' Ultium platform for electric vehicles. So not counting the Bolt, if we just look at BZ4X and Lexus RZ, that outsold all General Motors EVs. So that would include the Lyriq, that would include the Ultium stablemate of the Blazer EV, etc. Also the Hummer EV, stuff like that. It's interesting. Anyways, we're going to keep moving. RAV4, holy smokes. Look at that volume. RAV4 selling back over 400,000 units for 2023. It is the #1 selling vehicle. That is not a Big 3 pickup truck in the United States. That volume is huge. All right, let's get into the Corolla Cross, 71,000. This volume needs to keep going up. They're nowhere near production capacity, I don't think, for the Corolla Cross. I think it's supposed to be 150,000 if my memory serves me correct, out of that Alabama plant. Yeah, there it is, 300,000. Half of that goes to Mazda CX-50, the other half for Toyota. So Toyota is nowhere near. They're at half capacity building the Corolla Cross. And I honestly think if they can make it all hybrid, which maybe they will in the near future. The demand for this thing will be insane. They just can't build enough of them due to labor shortages and whatnot over in Alabama. All right, Venza, rest in peace, down 10% on the year. That's a sore subject for me. Highlander, volume dropping, and the volume's dropping massively. Look at this fourth quarter. I'm convinced, I can't say without a shadow of the doubt, but I'm convinced that the Highlander is going to be discontinued by the end of 2024, and the Grand Highlander is going to take its spot, as well as the Crown Signia and maybe Crown Sport one day. So yes, rest in peace. In my opinion, Highlander, even though it's still selling a ton, we'll see what happens though. Grand Highlander rolled off of 48,000 for the year, but it wasn't at full production capacity for most of the year. So keep that in mind. This number is going to keep going higher. And look how close it was with the Highlander, only about 4,000 units behind. So in theory, with that sort of ratio, the Grand Highlander could have been selling 120,000 units or so for all of 2023 if they're able to crank them out at max capacity. Anyways, 4Runner, as we're waiting for a new generation, it doesn't matter because it's only down 1% and they're still selling 120,000 of these. R&D on this vehicle was done a decade ago. So it just prints cash for them, the 4Runner. We should get a new reveal by the end of 2024 on the new 4Runner. Toyota Sequoia, it's very expensive. After driving the Escalade, I would assume that the Tahoe is better than the Sequoia in every shape and form, just like the Lexus GX is better than the Sequoia 2 now for $65,000. Sequoia and the Lexus GX cost about the same, and they're about the same size. Crazy. I mean, the Sequoia is a little bit bigger. Don't get me wrong. It's a little bit bigger but than the new GX. But the GX has grown. Anyways, Land Cruiser, rest in peace, but it is getting revived in 2024 with the J250. Like I just mentioned, it's the same vehicle as a Lexus GX, just with different styling and technology, sort of. All right. Toyota Sienna down 4%. Not good. It's being outsold by the Odyssey nowadays. And maybe it's because the Grand Highlander's taken some of its volume, but the rumors on the streets are saying the Sienna is going to Japan for production. So it could share a lot with the Alphard. That would be stupid, but it would be so expensive, I feel like. So I don't know what they're going to do with the Sienna. It just doesn't make any sense to me going to Japan for production unless it is, I don't know, completely different from the Alphard, but I don't know why they would need to do that in that case. But anyways, Toyota Tacoma down, or it's about neutral, right? Minus 1%. It's just got switched over to the new model, but volume hasn't really dropped. Tundra up 30% on a DSR for the month of December, up 20% on the year. I'm seeing a lot of Tundras on the road, so good for the Tundra getting that capacity. 125K, that's like max capacity to my understanding for the Tundra. And the Sequoia is built in the same factory. So yeah, they're pretty much max capacity and selling everything they have. Let's go back to Lexus now. Lexus is crushing it. RC, it's only a matter of time before the RC gets canceled, but they need to keep producing it. Well, it's a coupe, right? They need to keep producing it for their racing series. They need to have a production model for the GT3 race class. And until it can be replaced with the LFR, the RC will continue on in very low volume. Lexus IS, crushing it. For a sedan to be up on the year, up 5%. Lexus LS, in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before they cancel it or come out with a fully electric redesign. But a fully electric redesign on a new platform is still probably 6 years away, would be my guess. I think they just kill off the LS and give us a bigger, more flexible ES to shoulder the load for the old GS and the LS combined. ES is a fantastic luxury sedan. It's very affordable and still looks great in my opinion. LC500, up 27% on the year, down 10% on the month. But the LC500 is the best Lexus currently in production and arguably of all time, aside from the LFA. But Lexus is killing it in the crossover world. They have sold more in 2023 than they ever have before with their crossovers. The UX is up 16% despite it being super small. I wish we got the LBX. If we're going to have a super small, tiny crossover, at least give us one that looks cute. The LBX not available in the United States, and the UX soldiers on. However, for 2025 model year, It gets a 300h. It gets upgraded horsepower, now about 200 horse, and better fuel economy too. So finally getting that 5th gen Toyota hybrid powertrain with the 2-liter Lexus NX. Look at this volume surge, 52% up, and it's still crushing it because the last month it was up 40%. So in my opinion, the NX should be the best seller for Lexus. The RX has gotten too small. The NX is what the RX used to be for the first and second generation size-wise. And the NX is just a better vehicle than the RX, and it has the exact same powertrains. So get a smaller package as long as you don't need something massive. The NX is a better vehicle for most people, in my opinion. Still with good legroom with the second generation NX. Anyways, RZ has sold 5,000 units. And it's been kind of a flop, to be honest. Same thing with the BZ4X. RX has sold 114,000 units. It is the best-selling luxury crossover that I'm aware of, not counting Tesla. Up 20% on the year, up 200% on the month. They must have had a really rough month last year. Can't imagine being back in my old Lexus salesman boots trying to sell RXs at the end of the year last year, meaning end of 2022, but it looks like they had a great end of 2023. All right, Lexus GX, 50% up on the month, 6% up. So here's the problem, guys. Lexus GX, the new generation's coming out, and I will be driving it at the end of this month. The problem is that production keeps getting delayed and pushed back. I'm hearing that it might be till April or something until the dealers get their first shipment of GX 550s. And if that's the case, they're just kind of limping along with current GX inventory. So there might be a month or two, maybe 3, depending on what dealership you are, without any GX inventory at all from the 460 to the 550 gap. So that's going to be a bit drama on the Lexus sales side or the purchasing side, depending on who you are. Lexus LX up 33% on the month, up 91% on the year, but the LX is now going to be outdone. It's the same size as the new GX, and the GX is more affordable and gives you better ergonomics and technology, and yeah, it looks way better than the LX. All right, so that summarizes Lexus, and I'm going to take a quick break and meet you on the next automaker. Getting into Honda for 2023, I'll be giving you guys like a press conference here soon with Honda. In just a couple of weeks from now, they'll be updating journalists and media with their electrification plans and the roadmap, stuff like that. So stay tuned because I can't wait to share all that good stuff. Also, Honda has a reveal in 3 days, 3 to 4 days from now at CES. They're unveiling some new electrified concepts that are supposed to be a snapshot of their EV future, maybe starting in 2026 on their e-architecture platform. All right, Honda up 33% in 2023. CR-V still hanging on to this claim as the best-selling American crossover of the past 25 years. At 361,000. Remember, the RAV4 is like at 434,000. This might be the last time Honda can claim this best-selling crossover the past 25 years because the RAV4 went on sale after the CR-V and has now surpassed it in yearly sales, but the aggregate sales from beginning model year to end model year, CR-V has had its lunch just slightly, but that might not even be the case in 2023 or 2024. But Honda's sticking with that tagline as long as they possibly can, even though the RAV4 has been outselling it for many, many years. Ridgeline sold 52,000, best all-time annual sales record for them. Civic at 200,000 sales, Accord almost at 200,000 sales as well. So 400,000 for those sedans, and it's going to get even more beautiful in 2024 as we have availability for the Civic hybrid sedan and hatchback. And we'll also talk about Acura today as well. I'm not going to go over all the highlights. We would be here forever. So let's get into the spreadsheet. Heck yeah. Honda as a total for the year, including Acura, sold 1.3 million vehicles, up 33% compared to last year. I think it's safe to say Honda's almost fully recovered from the supply shortages. Accord up 28% on the year, Civic up 50% on the year, CR-V up 52% on the year. That's a huge jump for such a large volume vehicle. HRV up 6%. They're finally getting production volume up on it. And once it comes out with a hybrid, it's going to be awesome. It's already it handles really well. It's quiet. The materials are really nice on it. It's just a dog with that 2-liter CVT setup. Anyways, I really want, and the fuel economy is not good on the HRV either. So Honda, give it a hybrid and remedy its shortcomings. All right, Odyssey, give this a hybrid too, but there's going to be a redesign on the Odyssey sometime this year. It's up 57%. They're selling like hotcakes, even though it's slowing down a little bit in the month of December. Passport, I just reviewed the new Passport. It's a very safe vanilla vehicle. It's not, that's all end it there. It's going to be good for 99% of people out there, but it's not going to excite anyone. 43,000 units, so it's up 5 to 6% on the year. Pilot up 11% on the year with the new redesign. Ridgeline had the best year ever for Ridgeline, up 22%. Going into Acura, ILX rest in peace, Integra, up 147%. Why is it up so much? Well, I don't think it was on sale for the entirety of 2022, so that's why we have a 147% gain here. And then 30% gain roughly for the month of December. And yeah, it's doing well for them. The Integra, I saw one yesterday, and there's a new Civic right next to it. And from the back, it looks a lot more premium than the Civic if you enjoy the taillights, which remind me of Batman, so they definitely do. NSX, rest in peace, RL/Legend is now officially Legend. It is no longer in production. TLX, I'll be getting a TLX Type S, the new refresh soon to give you guys when the embargo ends. Fingers crossed everything works out. It should be here soon, maybe by the end of next week, so I can give you guys my impressions on the refreshed TLX with new technology and slightly different styling. All right, up 34% on the month and up 45% on the year, so the TLX has recovered. MDX, their cash cow, their number one seller, selling about 57,000 on the year, up 25%. And let's see, the RDX has finally recovered as well, like the CRV, and we should be getting a new RDX reveal probably by the end of 2024. But the RDX is doing great, up 59%. Maybe not exactly where they want it to be. I think its sales should be pretty close to the MDXs, but as we saw with the NX and RX, the bigger ones tend to sell better. The MDX is just so good. That's the thing. The MDX, to me, is right at the top of its class. The RDX is kind of in the middle of its class, in my opinion. All right, moving on to Nissan. Fourth quarter and results, full results for 2023. Let's see. Do we have some highlights here? Kicks were up 71% for the quarter, but let's focus on year-end highlights. Rogue up 45%, just like we saw the CRV. And RAV4 be up huge, so is the Rogue. Sentra up 42%. Pathfinder, just reviewed one recently, very good vehicle, 24%. And sales of Kicks were up 22% for the calendar year. No mention of big Ultima Energy there. Versa, massively, holy cow, 85% up compared to last year. Sentra up 41%. Ultima down at 9%. Losing a little bit of that energy there. Maxima, rest in peace. Leaf down 40%. We don't know what's going to happen to Leaf. It's supposedly going to be shipped over to Great Britain for production for the next generation, but time will tell. Z up 500%, but they're still hardly producing any Zs. 1,700. If we go back to the Supra, how many Supras we were sold in 2023? 2,600. So maybe just the market demand could be pretty low on these coupes. It's really hard to find a Z out on the market. GTR up 500% as well, but they sold 390, so it's not that big of a deal, even though it's ancient at this point and it's gotten very expensive. Nissan Kicks, we talked about that, up 22% in the year. The Frontier, what happened to the Frontier? It's currently right up there with the new Tacoma in terms of best trucks out there in the midsize segment. But why is it down 23%? That's a bit strange to me. Titan, rest in peace. It'll be canceled at I think mid 2024. Pathfinder up 24%. Armada up 77% as we get ready for a new Armada with a twin turbo V6 instead of the V8. The Rogue up 45%. As we mentioned, eclipsing 270,000 sales. Gosh, Aria's up 6,598%, selling 13,000 Arias so far in 2023. Murano, 3.5% up. They are still committed to the Murano. That's supposed to be their first hybrid introduction in 2025 with the Murano redesign in North America. Don't know why. Why wouldn't you just do it for your best seller, the Rogue? Why wouldn't you just, I don't know. That's Nissan for you. Like we said, overall, Nissan up 22%, but let's get on to Infiniti. Up nearly 40% on the year, but it's still not enough to catch Genesis. Q50 up 29%. The sedan's pretty good. Watch my Red Sport review on it. It's just ancient. Q60. Coupes aren't selling well. Look at the Lexus RC, so no surprise there. I'm surprised the Q60 hasn't been canceled yet. Infiniti QX50 down 10%. Again, all of their QX50 and QX55 and the previous QX60 are hamstrung by a CVT transmission. Otherwise, I love the looks of the QX50 and QX55. I think they're really cool designs. I don't mind the interior. You guys say it's outdated, and it is, but it still works really, really well with the dual touchscreens. But yeah, I think maybe the CVT is catching up to them and people are not interested. I don't know. That's just how I see it. But there's probably other bigger issues on other than CVT on why the QX50 is down. QX60 up 77%. This is their number one seller, like Acura's MDX. The QX60, their three-row people mover, is kicking butt. 29,000 sales. I think it might be better looking than the MDX. It's hard for me to say that, but it's gorgeous. The QX60, absolutely stunning looking vehicle. To me, it's like a coin flip between the MDX and the QX60. The MDX is more fun to drive. The QX60 is more luxurious, more smooth. Now, I haven't driven the new TX, so I can't say anything about that. So Lexus, if you're watching, I don't know why you'd be watching about 40 minutes into a sales update, but bring me the TX as soon as humanly possible so I can test it out with my family. Infiniti QX80. Getting a redesign just like the Armada soon, but that's up 76%. So it's good to see Infiniti having a rebound, but how long will that rebound last? All right, into Subaru of America, up 13% on the year. Sales up just 2% in December. Now, Subaru has the new Forester coming out this year, as well as hopefully a Forester hybrid by the end of 2024, but time will tell. So let's get into the individual models. All right, Ascent down 5% on the year, only selling 60,000 units. We'll just move on from there. BRZ up 25%. Long live the rear-wheel drive lightweight sports car. Crosstrek selling 159,000 units. You would think that would be enough to take the number one spot in the Subaru lineup, but the Outback has sold 2,700 units more, roughly, than the Crosstrek with the Outback. And the Outback will be getting redesigned probably in 2025, but the Forester, not far behind at 152,000 units. That is great to see for the little Forester. It's probably my favorite Subaru. I haven't tested an Outback in a long time, and I'm talking about Subaru crossovers. Obviously, I'd take a WRX over any other Subaru, and the WRX is up 32%. Solterra up 865% to 8,800 units. So Subaru's just looking really healthy here. Other than the Ascent, they need to replace the CVT on it and a few other tweaks here and there, and it would be pretty competitive. But it's not good enough to compete. Moving on to Mitsubishi, things are slowing down for them. If we go to year over year, they sold about 1,500 more units in 2023 compared to 2022, when everyone we talked about so far in depth has been up double digits. And look, they actually sold less vehicles in Q4 2023 than in Q4 2022. Eclipse Cross, nothing exciting there. The Outlander plug-in hybrid and the Outlander, the only vehicles worth considering in their lineup. The Outlander Sports Ancient needs to be replaced. And the Mirage needs to be discontinued because they're going to discontinue, I think, in 2025, but it's going to kind of limp along until then. Yeah, long live affordable vehicles. Just the Mirage at its price point you could get a couple year old Toyota or a Honda, have way more power, more safety, more room. And yeah, you'd be better off than buying a brand new Mirage. So that's a problem with the Mirage, but that's all I have to say about Mitsubishi. I don't know what they're going to do to save themselves in the United States. Okay, on to Hyundai and Kia. Hyundai, look at these highlights here. Sales increased 11% in 2023. Best year ever for Hyundai. A third year in a row setting a new annual retail sales record. Record-setting Q4 total sales for Hyundai up 5%. Hyundai sets best ever December total up 4% and 17 consecutive months with increases in total sales. Absolutely bonkers. Bonkers what they're able to do. So now they're selling Hyundai by themselves 801,000 vehicles. Remember, if we look at Honda, 1.1. So Hyundai is about 300,000 units behind Honda at this point. And I don't think they're going to pass Honda, but if you include Kia, they've like doubled up Honda sales, right? And if you include Genesis. So let's get back to Hyundai. All right, individual models. Accent, rest in peace. Elantra up 14% on the year. Ioniq 5 up 48%. That's a lot of electrified units here for the Ioniq 5. Ioniq 6 sold maybe a third of what the Ioniq 5 is selling. The Streamliner, the Ioniq 6 is a really good EV. Watch my driving impressions in Arizona. Hyundai Kona, just drove that in Maryland this past year. I really liked the electric Kona. I haven't driven the CVT Kona, but I'm going to recommend the CVT Kona over the turbo 8-speed Kona because it just wasn't responsive enough in my opinion. So the base model Kona not only be cheaper, it'll get better gas mileage, and you'll be able to still get the great styling and handling capabilities of the Kona if you like the Kona styling. Anyways, yeah, get the CVT and the more affordable 2-liter instead of the 1.6 turbo. Nexo, fuel cell, whatever. Palisade, up 8%, the 3-row people mover, moving 89,000 units. That's a ton. Santa Cruz up 1%, the small pickup truck. Santa Fe up 10% as we get ready for the redesigned Santa Fe. Santa Fe selling 131,000 units. That is a ton. That is a crap ton of Santa Fe's. Sonata minus 18% as we have a new refresh Sonata as well as a refresh Elantra. But Tucson up 20%. Tucson hybrids fantastic. Tucson plug-in hybrids a little expensive. Tucson's just really good, and this is the best year the Tucson has ever had, selling over 209,000 units. Veloster, rest in peace. Venue up 3% on the year. We need affordable cars. I love the little Venue. Haven't driven it, but I'm sure I would like it because I like cheap cars. They're fun. Anyways, 28,000 units for the Venue. All right, moving on to Kia. All-time best annual sales record in North America, selling almost as much as Hyundai, 782,000 units. That's fantastic. Beating the 2021 record by 12%. They shattered it. 6 models achieve all-time high sales. So let's get into the individual models here. They don't give us percentages, so it's always more work for me unless I make my own spreadsheet, which I don't feel like doing. EV6 is down on the year, interestingly, because the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 were up way high on the year. Kia Rio is about flatlined. We need affordable cars. And the Kia Forte is up about 15,000 units on the year. Love that. Kia K5. Oh, by the way, the Rio is going to be discontinued sometime in 2024, 2025, right? So it's on borrowed time. The K5, like the Sonata, down a couple thousand units on the year. Stinger, rest in peace. Kia Soul. I like that little fun, spunky box on wheels. It's up a couple of 4,000 units on the year. The Nero's doing great, guys. I'm seeing Neros everywhere. And keep in mind, the Nero is a direct competitor to the Prius. It's more roomy, more functional than the Prius now that the Prius has gone for design and sportiness compared to just functionality. So the Nero sold 36,000 units. Remember, let's look at the Prius. The Prius has only sold 38,000. Unacceptable, Toyota. Unacceptable. And I'm seeing way more new Neros down here in Florida than I am seeing new Priuses. I probably see 10 to 1 new Neros than I do new Priuses. So well done, Kia, capitalizing on Toyota's shortcomings with their production on the Prius. Okay, Seltos, doing fantastic. The little compact crossover. There was one tailgating me today, driving crazy. Anyways, It's doing well though. 60,000 units, up 15,000 units compared to last year. It's doing great. It's down actually on the month though, so it's slowing down as we go into the new year. Sportage down on the month as well, but the Sportage still at 15,000 units compared to last year. That is unbelievable. I really like the Sportage Hybrid. Like I mentioned, it is, in my review, it's very affordable. It's pretty cool looking. It's functional and gets the job done. Sorento is getting ready for a refresh or a redesign, right? But it's up 2,000 units and looking good, looking strong. Probably its last model year before it gets a redesign. Telluride, 110,000. Let's go back to Hyundai. I know that the Palisade was only 90,000. Kia makes a Telluride in North America and Georgia, I believe, and the Palisade is imported from Korea, so that might have something to do with it. All right, Carnival. We need more minivans, but the Carnival's up, what is that, 24,000 units? Let's go back to Honda. What is the Odyssey sitting at? 74,000. The Sienna not selling as well, 66,000 as the Honda Odyssey. So the Honda Odyssey has taken the minivan crown, probably outside the Pacifica. We've made it to the end. Thank you guys for being along the way. You've wasted about, 40 minutes of your time with me today. I appreciate you for that. If you made it this far, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Big year coming in 2024. So much stuff coming down the pipe for all these manufacturers. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. And what's the big surprises? What are the big takeaways? Like the whole market completely rebounding except for General Motors from my numbers today. It's pretty surprising, especially with how expensive vehicles have become and especially with interest rates. So 2024 is going to be a very interesting year, no pun intended. How long are these automakers going to be able to ride this high? How long are they going to be able to get away with not incentivizing their products? How long are they going to be able to get away with dealer markups and stuff from the dealership end? So 2024 is going to shake up a lot of that, hopefully for the better for the consumer. So definitely stay tuned as I'll update you guys as the year goes by. See you in the comments. Have a good day.